sit next to you?
I always like sitting next to you. Double trouble.
Okay, good evening and welcome to this evening's Finance Committee hearing where we will be adopting the fiscal 23 budget. I'm Councilmember Justin Brannan and I chair the Committee on Finance. I want to acknowledge my fellow committee members that are present. Of course, Speaker Adams, Council members Velasquez, Osei, Lewis, Barron, Hanks, Sanchez, Ayala, Carr, Kagan, Juan, Farias, Hudson, Brewer, Powers, Brooks Powers, and Moya. Thank you all for joining us this evening. The Finance Committee will take the necessary actions for the City Council to adopt a $101 billion budget for fiscal year 2023. In all, this committee will vote on 21 items tonight. I would first like to thank Speaker Adams for her leadership over these past 6 months and throughout the entire budget process. Speaker's commitment to advocate for a budget that is fair and equitable to all New Yorkers truly represents the values of this entire council. Speaker's commitment to a fair and open and deliberative and collaborative process amongst all the council members has also been most welcome during this budget process, and I believe it's a testament to the type of leader that the Speaker has been since becoming the leader of this body. I want to thank the incredibly hardworking staff of the Council's Finance Division. From preliminary in February through adoption tonight, I know that there were very long hours, many questions from members, countless meetings, presentations, Zooms, reports, briefings, and spreadsheets. Your dedication is recognized and very much appreciated. To all the financial analysts, economists, and administrative support staff who got us to this vote tonight, and a very special thank you to the Finance Division's leadership team who spearheaded the effort, Managing Deputy Director Jonathan Rosenberg, Deputy Director Isha Wright, Deputy Director Paul Simone, Deputy Director and Chief Economist Dr. Ray Majeski, Assistant Director Emra Adev, Assistant Director Doheny Sampora, Supervising Economist Paul Sturm, Unit Heads Chima Obachair, Aliyah Ali, James Reyes, Krillian Francisco, and John Russell, Senior Counsel Malcolm Butehorn. Thank you for stepping up and leading us through the budget process and all the budget hearings throughout May. And of course, Special Counsel Jim Karras. Of course, a resounding thank you to the fearless Finance Division CFO, Tanisha Edwards, for her amazing leadership. None of the budget success that we've achieved today would have been possible without the committed efforts of you and your staff. I'd be remiss if I did not thank the Legislative Documents Unit for all the work they did to put this together and dealt with countless emails, changes, and last-minute corrections and requests from central staff. Every hearing, every vote, every stated. Thank you to Jonathan Etrix, Ruthie Del Franco, Yvette Molina, Billy Martin, and Matt DiStefano. The ever-present Sergeant at Arms, they keep things orderly, they keep things safe, from City Hall to 250 Broadway to parades and other events. Ever-present Sergeant at Arms, thank you, Carl, Raphael, and your entire team, and our condolences to Carl on the loss and his family. And last but not least, a special shout out to my staff for all they do back home in the district, and my special advisor, Jonathan Yedden. Okay, this budget represents a new day for this legislative body. We have secured new units of appropriation to hold agencies accountable, 18 in total, including 6 in the NYPD, 4 in the Department of Corrections, which is nothing short of monumental in the history of the council budget negotiations. Negotiated robust terms and conditions to allow the council and its financial and legislative divisions to help us make better informed policies and decisions that will ultimately benefit all of New York City. And more importantly, we have secured a council record of $1.1 billion during city budget negotiations to invest in communities for key programs and services. This budget answers so many of the calls that this council made in response to the mayor's preliminary budget back in February. We have expanded youth programs, including 100,000 slots for the Summer Youth Employment Program. We've expanded housing access. We've restored sanitation cuts. We provided a salary adjustment for our critical human service program workers and increased funding for mental health services, to name but just a few. Something extremely near and dear to myself personally is the $1.4 million eye care pilot, which will provide free optometry services to low-income New Yorkers and will truly be a game changer for so many people who are without eye care and eye insurance. Also, providing a property tax rebate to New York City resident homeowners earning $250,000 or less who are struggling with rising costs across the board. This is the first property tax rebate in 14 years. Time and time again during our budget process, I continually said that as finance chair, I'd work with our speaker to secure a fair and balanced budget, one rooted in fairness and equity for all New York City residents. And we do this while putting historic amounts away to address future risks. The last few years have taught us at least two huge lessons. We need to address inequity in this city, and we need to plan better for the inevitable hard times that may come. As we emerge from COVID and we enter our new normal, the fiscal year 2023 budget provides a solid ground from which we can begin recovery. By no means is this budget a panacea for all the issues confronting our city, but it is an incredibly solid foundation from which to grow over these next few years. So now let's turn to adopting this budget. Before we get to the vote, I want to discuss the specific items that we'll vote on today. Finance Committee members were emailed a budget packet by the committee council that contains all of the budget-related legislation that must be voted on by the committee, and again, by the full council and the stated meeting later this evening. A description of all the items were also emailed to you, so I'm going to just list the items that are on our agenda this evening that require a vote. The first item is Intro 347, a local law to amend the administrative code of the City of New York in relation to suspending the annual tax on state licensed retailers selling liquor, wine, or beer at retail for on or off-premises consumption within the City of New York for the tax year beginning in 2022. Items 2 through 6 allow us to set the property tax for the coming year. Second item is a resolution computing and certifying the base percentage, current percentage, and current base proportion of each class of real property for FY23 to the State Board of Real Property Tax Services pursuant to Section 1803A of the Real Property Tax Law. The third item is a resolution computing and certifying adjusted base proportion of each class of real property for fiscal 2023 to the State Board of Real Property Tax Services pursuant to Section 1803A of the Real Property Tax Law. The fourth is a resolution establishing for fiscal 2023 a 0% increase on the current base proportion of any class over the adjusted base proportion of the immediately preceding year for purposes of determining the current base proportion. The fifth item is the report of the Committee on Finance in favor of approving a resolution of the City Council of New York fixing the tax rate for the FY23 adopted June 13, 2022 upon the recommendation of the Committee on Finance of the Council. The sixth item is a resolution to provide the amounts necessary for the support of the government of the City of New York and the counties therein and for the payment of indebtedness thereof for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2022 and ending on June 30th, 2023 by the levy of the taxes on the real property in the City of New York. The seventh item is a transparency resolution number 14. The eighth item is the mayor's communication submitting the expense revenue contract budget for fiscal 23 pursuant to Section 249 of the New York City Charter. The ninth item is the resolution to adopt a budget appropriating the amounts necessary for the support of the government of the City of New York and the counties therein and for the payment of indebtedness thereof for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2022 and ending on June 30th, 2023 and in accordance with the provisions of the New York City Charter. The 10th resolution is to adopt a contract budget setting forth by agency categories of contractual services for which appropriations had been proposed for the fiscal year beginning on July 1, 2022 and ending on June 30th, 2023 in accordance with the provisions of the New York City Charter. The 11th item is a message from the mayor submitting the executive capital budget for FY23 pursuant to Section 249 of the New York City Charter. The 12th item is a Reso A for fiscal 2022 capital budget, approving the schedule of changes for the capital budget since the executive budget, including council discretionary allocations. The 13th item is Reso B for the fiscal 2022 capital budget, which is an approval of the capital budget as amended by Reso A. The 14th item is a communication from the mayor submitting the proposed city fiscal year 2023 community development program, the proposed CFY 23 budget, the proposed reallocations, the CD 48th year funds, and proposed CD 49th statement of objectives and budget dated April 26, 2022. The 15th item is the resolution approving the city fiscal year 23 community development program, reallocation of the 48th year community development funds, and the proposed 49th year community development program. The 16th item is a communication from the Office of Management and Budget transferring city funds between various agencies in FY22 to implement to the city's expense budget pursuant to Section 107B of the city charter. The 17th item is the resolution approving the modification of units of appropriation and transfer of city funds between agencies as proposed by the mayor pursuant to Section 107B of the city charter. The 18th item is a communication from the Office of Management and Budget appropriating new city revenues in FY22 pursuant to Section 107E of the New York City Charter. The 19th item is a resolution approving the modification pursuant to Section 107E of the New York City Charter. The 20th item is a communication from the Department of Education and School Construction Authority submitting proposed February 22 amendment to the fiscal year 2020 to 2024 five-year capital plan. The 21st item and the final items are the resolution approving the amendment of the five-year capital plan submitted by the DOE and the SCA. The other documents were emailed to you, which do not require a separate vote, which are Schedule C, a list of the terms and conditions adopted by fiscal 2023, and the Borough President proposed changes. As a reminder to members, Schedule C is a schedule of the expense and contract budgets, and the appropriations for the organizations listed in Schedule C are funded by the expense and contract budgets. Council members will have to sign a disclosure form indicating whether or not a conflict exists with any of the groups listed in Schedule C or in Reso A, which details the designations of capital discretionary funds. A separate disclosure form must be completed for the transparency resolution. If any council member has a potential conflict of interest with any of the organizations included, he or she then has the opportunity to disclose the conflict at the time of their vote. If you have not yet signed those disclosure forms, staff from the General Counsel's office are available to guide you through the process, so please contact one of them before you vote. As a further reminder, please disclose any conflicts you may have with proposed subcontractors that are used by any of the organizations sponsored. These disclosures must be made before the subcontractor can be approved. These are all of our items for today. I will now have Billy Martin, the committee clerk, call the roll.
Good afternoon. Lee Martin, Committee Clerk, roll call vote Committee on Finance. All items are coupled. Chair Brannan.
I vote aye.
Ayala. Moya. Powers. Lewis. Brooks Powers.
I vote aye.
Barron.
To explain my vote.
Yes.
My colleagues, I think we blew a golden opportunity to deliver something to the people of New York, the families that are struggling with high rents, families that are struggling with foreclosures, families that are struggling with unemployment, poverty. Most of your districts in communities of color have 30 and 40% poverty rates. Most have double-digit unemployment. And this budget of $101 billion, and they lured you into a budget negotiation process, which is the annual dance. I've done 12 budgets. So you're going to be celebrating $1.1 billion. I saw another number, $870 million, of your initiatives and some reinstatements to some agencies. This budget, when it comes to unemployment, 1.7 million in workforce development. 1.7 million in workforce development. There is a cut to the school budget, even if they tell you it's because of absentees. There's a cut to the school budget. There's a cut, PEGs, as he calls them, programs to eliminate the gap. That's a cute name for PEGs. Many agencies will be cut with vital human services, even if you're going to get some more litter baskets for your areas. Many of the agencies will be cut. And most of the agencies that receive federal money, that money's running out. Some of it in next year, some of it this year, that money's running out. We had an opportunity to do better. And how many of you really read the capital budget that has billions of dollars for more jails and 1.7 million for more jobs?
Councilmember, how do you vote?
I'm not finished talking. I'm gonna have my word tonight. I don't care what you say. I'm gonna have my word tonight.
1 more minute.
Because, no, I'm gonna have my word tonight. Y'all gonna win this battle, but you ain't shutting my mouth, so forget about it. We have a budget that's $101 billion, and there's cuts to every major agency. As a matter of fact, many of the agencies cannot hire anybody, fill any vacancies. And when you have money for jails and money for the police, $11 billion for the police, $513 million for overtime for the police, and the crisis management system teams, $100 million. And he made someone the czar so he can get some credibility. This budget doesn't meet the urgency and emergency of the people in our districts. Y'all know that. And yes, I'm not going to get any money from the $41 million that the Speaker has to dole out to you who did the right thing by her. Those of us who didn't, 4 or 5 of us who might not be voting for this budget, we're not going to get that money, the little $41 million. Who does she hurt? Not me. She's hurting hundreds of thousands of our people in black and brown communities because they didn't vote for the budget. This is what happens every time. This budget has too much that was taken from vital services. And when you pass it, even the rebate, $150 rebate, $250 from the state, and in November, the property tax is going up. They're gonna have to use that rebate to give it back to pay the tax in November. That ain't even real. There's too much in this budget that's a contradiction to what a budget's supposed to be about. Budget's supposed to reflect the values. The budget's supposed to reflect the needs of the people. Wall Street made $58 billion profit. Wall Street. An unexpected $3 billion in revenue came in. Another $1.5 billion in revenue is coming in next year, and you already had $6.3 billion in a reserve fund. $10 billion, we should have eliminated all the gaps. We should have restored all the revenue for the federal money, and we should have had an anti-poverty program. Crime goes up because of poverty, unemployment, and mental health. None of those 3 areas have been adequately funded. So we're gonna have high crime. And with the 50,000 police officers and their $11 billion budget, crime has gone up from January to now by 41%.
Councilmember,
So my colleagues, I want to
vote?
encourage you to do the right thing by the people and not your personal interest, not because you got a chair, not because you're getting your favorite program, but before the people. Those are the people who voted for you. I'm voting no on all of the items except for the transparency, the transfer budget. And number 1, the tax, yeah.
Thank you. Councilmember Brooks Powers.
Thank you for that. When I was eager to vote, failed to disclose. So I just want to disclose my conflicts. I, along with my Deputy Chief of Staff, are both members of Queens Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I also am a member of the Greater Allen AME Cathedral of New York. My Director of Scheduling is a PTA member for Eagle Academy, and my Deputy Chief of Staff serves on the board for the Rochdale Village Social Services.
And Mr. Chair, let me just disclose that my son works for BRIC.
Thank you. Billy? Billy, Councilmember Powers has a disclosure too.
Councilmember Powers.
I also want to
Thank you. It's all yours, Billy.
Thank you. Brewer.
I vote aye, and I do want to thank all the people whom the chair mentioned, and also to say, Charles Barron, I also have 13 years this year. Are both of us as budget passings, 11 years as a staff in the city council, and 4 on the mayoral staff. So a lot of budget in the past, and I want to say this is the most open, transparent, and the most discussion that took place in all of those many years of passing budgets, and I vote aye.
Thank you. Councilman Powers, you have to do your disclosure again?
thank you. I'll try this again. We're funding Mount Sinai in this budget. My mother is an employee of Mount Sinai. Thank you.
Thank you. Farias.
Sorry, just 2 disclosures. My mother is an employee at NYU Langone, and my sibling attends junior high school, 127 Castle Hill School, and I vote aye.
Thank you. Hanks.
Yes, I'd like to disclose that my second cousin is an employee of my brother's keeper, and I vote aye on all. Thank you.
Thank you. Hudson.
I'd like to disclose for the record that my partner is employed by Planned Parenthood Federation of America. I believe we'll be funding Planned Parenthood of Greater New York, and I vote aye.
Thank you. Kagan.
I vote aye.
Osei.
I vote aye on all except for the executive capital and executive expense, in which I vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. Sanchez.
Permission to explain my vote?
Permission granted?
Thank you. I first want to disclose on the record that my brother is an adjunct lecturer at CUNY, BMCC. And I also want to join the finance chair in thanking the speaker, the finance chair, who he didn't thank himself, but he did a lot of work here. And just all of the staff who answered so many questions over the past weeks, especially, but throughout the entire budget process. Just thank you. I will give a very, very short version of remarks because I'm going to save it for later, really. But just to acknowledge that this is a historic budget, that when we look at the education and youth investments that we are making in SYP, in Work, Live, Grow, in so many different programs, these are programs that for me, in my district, they're going to make a huge difference. Many of you know that I had, for instance, 2 shootings in front of my office in the last month. And they happen in a 2-week period. And when I talk to those kids, because those are my constituents, those are my babies, when I talk to them, what they said to me was, "Miss, we don't got anywhere to go. Miss, we don't got things to do. We want a basketball tournament." And so this is an extremely meaningful opportunity to be able to vote in support of this budget. But I also want to acknowledge that the primary thing that I'd been fighting for on behalf of my district and so many New Yorkers is a deeper capital investment in the housing budget. This council pushed the mayor for a $4 billion annual investment in capital funds for housing, and we did not get there this time around. We got to $5 billion over a 10-year period, which is about 12.5%. And so in voting aye today, I want to acknowledge that that is not okay, and that is not satisfactory, and that to the administration, to the advocates, to my colleagues on the council, this is perhaps a down payment, but we cannot relent, and we must continue to fight. An inability to spend down funds by city agencies is not a reason to stop trying. So let's build up the capacity of our agencies, and let's do what New Yorkers want us to do, which is house our vulnerable New Yorkers. And with that, I vote aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Velasquez.
Can I comment on the vote?
Of course.
Full disclosure, my spouse works for DEP, as most of you know, and my brother sits on the Board of Samaritans of New York. So those are my conflicts, and I vote aye on all. Boom.
Thank you.
Thank you. Juan.
I vote aye on all.
Thank you. Carr.
Just going to disclose on the record that my domestic partner is a student at CUNY, and we're funding CUNY in this budget. And with that, I vote aye on all, with the exception of preconsidered M73 and preconsidered resolutions 221, 222, and 233, on which I vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. One moment. Okay, items are adopted with the following results. Introduction 347 is adopted by the committee with 17 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, no abstentions. Preconsidered resolutions 221, 222, and 223, along with M73 and its companion reso, are adopted by the committee with 15 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative, no abstentions. Preconsidered resolution, transparency reso, is adopted by the committee 17 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, no abstentions. M50 and its companion resolutions are adopted by the committee with 15 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative, no abstentions. M51 and its resolutions are also adopted by the committee, 15 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative, no abstentions. We have M52, the community development, and preconsidered M71 with its resolution, preconsidered M72 with its resolution, M35 and its resolution, along with the M's to be filed, are adopted by the committee with 16 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative, and no abstention.
Thank you, Billy. Just a reminder to my colleagues, make sure you find the general counsel staff to fill out your forms in addition to what you disclosed tonight. Okay, with that, this meeting is adjourned.